This is my line, right?
I hope so.
I gotta walk faster. Or zarua latzadikim uliyishrei lev simcha. Or zarua latzadikim uliyishrei lev simcha. Light is sown for the righteous, and joy for the just in heart.
Let us celebrate the light of the candles.
They burn for us. They reflect the hope in our hearts. May they light our way in the years to come. We've come to the start of the section of the service for which we've sort of named the entire Yom Kippur evening service Kol Nidre. And when you stop to think about it, it's a little odd that a single paragraph written in Aramaic, it's not even Hebrew, tends to give its name to the entire service as though nothing else happens tonight. Why is that? To some degree, it's because one cannot help but think about pink elephants. If I tell you, don't think about pink elephants, you will find yourself unable to think of anything except pink elephants. Anybody who has taken an introductory evidence class in law school remembers this exercise. There has been such opposition to including Kol Nidre in Yom Kippur services over the last 1,200 years that for many people, Kol Nidre is the pink elephant. The more you talk about it, the more they think about it. And really, why have the Kol Nidre chant at all? Why recite confessionals later today and tomorrow? Why do we make ourselves think about pink elephants? Traditional Jewish practice has long called for us to actually speak aloud our mistakes and misdeeds, saying that sins cannot be forgiven if they're never spoken of. This is especially true of transgressions against others, but Maimonides at least encourages this for all the sins one might have committed, even ones that have no human victim. Some of it, frankly, is about shame. We're familiar with the effects of shame in our own lives, and I suppose it shouldn't surprise us that the rabbis thought shame might be a good tool for both repentance and deterrence. But really, I think it's simpler than that, or at least it can be for us. Speaking aloud what we have kept concealed makes the thing real. This is actually part of what publicly marking holidays and using liturgy like the books in front of us is for. Words spoken aloud bring out and make real our errors because they get us to use some part of our bodies to make the unknown known. Speech in particular has an additional bit of reality to it. What we say aloud can be heard by others so that not only we, but they know what we regret. If we don't admit what we've done in a way that ultimately rests in the air and in our bodies, we can forget that we've ever gone astray. I've mentioned before that I take a somewhat dim view of the memes that pop up this year on Facebook and Instagram and is it Twitter or X or Elonlandia? Whatever. Those memes that say things like, if I have hurt you in some way over the past year, I am sorry for having done so. Please forgive me. There are all manner of reasons I'm disenchanted with this practice, but the biggest one is this. It prevents us from feeling in our bodies the specific things we need to work to repair. It's not that the person posting this meme is insincere, it's that there's no fixing what you can't name. And there's no emotional tie to your mistakes if you don't name them and own them. It makes sense that we start Yom Kippur with spoken admissions of deep imperfection and the need to be forgiven. It's not a matter of shame and guilt, or it shouldn't be. It's a matter of needing to feel our faults for ourselves. Kol Nidre is the start of that process, and it's no surprise that it lends its name to the entire Yom Kippur evening service. We are on the middle third of page 3. unsurprisingly titled Kol Nidre.
Kol Nidre is not a prayer, but a chant. It is concerned with the importance of vows, oaths, and promises of human behavior.
In the 5th chapter of Ecclesiastes, the author says it is better not to vow at all than to vow and not fulfill. But our forebears understood the need for escape clauses in human intentions. For despite good intentions, all of us make promises we cannot keep.
Jewish tradition has established that unfulfilled promises and commitments to other people require forgiveness from those wronged. This is the cornerstone of the secular, humanistic Jewish view of Yom Kippur. Human interaction is the highest form of relationship, and it's only at this level that forgiveness and interpersonal rebuilding can be undertaken.
Kol Nidre, chant of ages, chant of Israel, chant of sorrow, measuring off the throbbing heartbeats of a people bowed in anguish, crushed by tyrants, thwarted, broken, wandering ever, homeless, weary.
Generations said their motif, our trials, hopes, and yearnings, added each its variations to your theme and your cadence. Diverse lands and diverse periods poured their soul into your music.
When we hearken with our hearts tuned, we can hear the lamentations through time's corridor resounding. We can see revealed before us heroes, martyrs, saints, and scholars, loyal, steadfast people of Israel. At this time, I'd like to invite Greg Greisa to sing the traditional Kol Nidre.
Kol Nidre ve'asere ve'karame ve'koname ve'kinuye ve'kinuse ushavuot Shavikin, Shavitin, Betelin, Sorutalin, Lasharirim, Lavala, Kayamim, Nidre na, Vesarana laile sare ushavavta na la shavanut.
All personal vows we are likely to make, all personal oaths and pledges we are likely to take between this Yom Kippur and the next Yom Kippur we publicly renounce. Let them be relinquished and abandoned null and void, neither firm nor established. Let our personal vows, pledges, and oaths be considered neither vows, nor pledges, nor oaths. Here we stand, heirs of the past and creators of the future. Let us open our eyes to wisdom with a new heart, a new spirit, and a new resolve.
Once more, Yom Kippur has come, and we strive to rid ourselves of self-pretense. We stand now between the day that was and the one that will be.
In the year gone by, what did we take? What did we give? To what were we blind? Our passion shall now be for wisdom. Love and truth we shall find. Justice and peace we shall embrace. And our impulse for good shall prevail.
Kol Nidre, chant of ages, chant of pain and chant of pathos, mingled with your notes of sorrow or notes of joyous exhaustion.
Kol Nidre, chant of the ages, chant of grief and chant of triumph, echoing this night of memories in the ears and hearts of Israel, as once again we draw together. With your plaintive chant, Kol Nidre, rise with our hopes for the dawn of peace.
When all hearts are purged of hatred, passions of lust that rend asunder, so that all may stand together.
May our hearts and minds be open to what this day asks of us.
May we be prepared to listen with our minds and hearts.
Thank you, Elise, for co-leading the first part of our Kol Nidre service this evening. In a moment, Harry Appleman will perform an instrumental version of Kol Nidre, after which Marty David will join me on stage as our second reader for the evening. on the top of page 6. We began this year, as all years, with promises and good intentions for improving our lives. Too many promises have been forgotten, too many hopes not realized. Who will hear our regrets? Who will open our prison and set us free? To whom can we raise our voices?
As we accept our imperfections and confirm our hopes, we grow in ethical and moral strength. With a sense for life's potential, we move beyond finding fault to seeking new opportunities for growth.
What can we learn from the Kol Nidre?
We must avoid making empty vows. We must commit ourselves to deeds rather than words.
We will strip away old habits. We will be open to change. I'd like to invite Greg Greisa up once more to sing our humanistic Kol Nidre.
Kol Nidre ve'asare ve'karame ve'koname ve'kinuye ve'kinuse. Oh no, sorry. Ve'kinuye ve'kinuse ushvuot Dina dana udai tabanu udakarimna vadi asana lama ahava utstapa iukayamim.
Together on the bottom of page 6. All personal vows we make, all personal oaths and pledges we may take, that are made for love and for righteousness, we affirm and accept. We began this year, as all years, with promises and good intentions for improving our lives.
Too many promises have been forgotten, too many hopes not realized. As the promises were ours, forgiveness must be ours.
As we accept our imperfections and affirm our hopes, we grow in ethical and moral strength. With a sense for life's potential, we move beyond finding fault or blame to seeking new opportunities for growth.
While we may have a modern philosophical outlook, we are not so different from our ancestors. The underlying ideas of the Kol Nidre still possess significance for us today. These are the sincere longing for a clear conscience, the release from feelings of guilt, the recognition of the sacredness of the promised word, and the desire to be absolved from vows which could not be carried out.
How many of us have fulfilled all that we have vowed? Who among us has not broken a heartfelt promise?
I hereby forgive those who have hurt me, whether deliberately or by accident.
As
I forgive and pardon fully those who have wronged me, may those who I have harmed in any way also forgive and pardon me. And may I not willfully repeat the wrongs I have committed in the past, and lovingly forgive myself
as I forgave and was forgiven by others. May tolerance and justice light our days. May tolerance and justice light the world.
Kol Nidre is unique in Judaism, and yes, every day is different, but there are some things about Kol Nidre that are particularly interesting. The Kol Nidre chant is the big one that I think most of us think of, and it is particularly evocative, though I'd note that what we use here is the most widely known Ashkenazi musical setting of the words of the Ashkenazi version of the Kol Nidre text. There are other versions. It's Judaism. Of course there's some kind of difference. And there are, of course, other powerful pieces of Jewish music, many connected to the high holidays, including 2 different melodies for Avinu Malkeinu that are widely known, one of which we carry into our adaptation, Tzrichim Anachnu. And so, yes, Kol Nidre is unique. But it's not the melody for Kol Nidre or even the specific version of the text Kol Nidre that's interesting to me today. It's the scaffolding around Kol Nidre. That's actually always what draws my attention on Kol Nidre. Have you ever thought about how we start services? About the patterns we fall into? It doesn't much matter whether you're in a humanistic congregation or an Orthodox one or really any other sort of Jewish space. Everyone seems to find a way to wedge Hine Ma Tov or Havenu Shalom Aleichem early in their ceremonies, or maybe even Ma Tovu. We've done this occasionally at Kabbalat Shabbat services, but not too often. There are just some standard songs we use for convocation purposes. But most of the time, after we sing one of those songs, we proceed right into the services for whatever holiday we're marking. We don't ordinarily look too closely at the very act of coming together and who we are when we do it. We talk about it being good to come together, and we often talk about the values we share in coming together, but we don't look too closely at what we're doing when we join together in a communal space. And in this, Kol Nidre is the exception. Kol Nidre services around the world, including at Machar, start with a formal process to rebuild broken trust. The liturgy says, in essence, we are flawed, and we are giving ourselves permission to trust again, not despite our flaws, but because of them. We are broken, and we need to be together to be made whole, and we can't be together with open hearts if we can't find a way to trust one another again. And then, whether you're at Machar or the Orthodox shtibel down the street, we expressly forgive one another. Some communities form a symbolic Beit Din, a Jewish court, to make it official, invoking the permission of earthly and heavenly courts to allow those whom the community has ejected to return, so that they too can find reconciliation and forgiveness. I'm not saying we're necessarily thinking about all of that when we read the words on the page, but we do read those words. Is that why you're here today? Because the Kol Nidre service says you need to be here because you're broken and so am I, and we need to be in the same place and community so we can try to fix a little of what's broken. I'm sure that was the front of mind for everybody, right? Just the rabbi. Why are you here today? And now everybody leaves. There's a funny thing about being here today, whether it's in person or online. Though the Kol Nidre chant is so powerful, whether it's Ashkenazi or Sephardic, Kol Nidre is always the least attended high holiday service at Machar. There are many reasons for that, and it's not surprising we don't have as large a section of our community with us today, and that's fine. I know rabbis are supposed to encourage everyone to come to everything. And I guess, sure, I'd love to see everyone all the time, although that is a very painful admission for an introvert to make. But honestly, you come when you can, when it makes sense, even if you're reluctant to do so, and you don't owe anyone an apology when you don't attend something. We have hard demands to balance, and not attending something isn't a sin. And listen, you really don't need to apologize to me when you don't come to something. But lower attendance means we can do something that we can't do when there are 175 of us in this room, we can actually talk to one another. And in fact, I think that's what Kol Nidre's invocation of community as court wants us to do. In this space, today, we can talk about why we're here. We can talk about what this holiday means to us. We can ask questions, hear answers, and listen to one another. After all, we've already expressly given one another permission to join together in the face of hurt and failure. So let's do that. Let's take a few minutes to talk together as a community. Why are you here? If you could ask anything about this time of year, this holiday, what would you want to know? Whom would you want to ask? Who do you wish was here today? Let's talk. It's Prime Minister's question time. I was going to say Phil Donahue, but you know.
Are we talking to each other or to the group?
We're going to talk to the group. Hence Prime Minister's question time. No one has any questions about Yom Kippur or Kol Nidre or life in general. Don't ask me the meaning of life. It's up to you.
I certainly have one.
Okay.
What was the Kol Nidre chant like before Louis Lewandowski had grabbed a hold of it?
What was the Kol Nidre chant like before Louis Lewandowski grabbed hold of it? So, for those who've never heard of Louis Lewandowski, and why would you have? Louis Lewandowski was a 19th century Jewish composer. Many of the Jewish tunes you have heard at some point in your life were composed by Louis Lewandowski. You will hear more of them tonight and more of them tomorrow. It's just unavoidable. He's like the Jewish European songbook. What did it sound like before Louis Lewandowski got a hold of it? Well, it pretty much sounded like what Louis Lewandowski wrote down. The very first version of Kol Nidre that we know of in print, in musical notes, the words are a different story. The musical notes are from the 1760s. He was not making it up. Neither was Brooke making it up when he composed his little riff on all of that. It's old. We don't actually know how old. There's some debate. It could be 500 years old. It could be 1,500 years old. It depends on which scholar you ask, and I hate to tell you this, but both of those scholars are deceased. So you can't ask them, you've just got me telling you what they said. Jewish musicology is complicated, made even more complicated by the fact that there aren't very many Jewish musicologists. Who knew? Nadine.
I would like to know why people are here, so maybe you could call on some people and ask.
So Nadine says she would like to know why people are here, and maybe I could call on people, and this is how you know Nadine went to law school. Because if you've gone to law school, what happens your first day? You are cold called. Which means that the professor just kind of goes, you. You answer my question, and you're going to be wrong. They don't tell you that part.
So because I didn't go to law school, I would ask you maybe, why are you here?
So now Myrna has asked, why is Nadine here?
Well, that's complicated. Because I've been a coordinator for the service, and so that's why I'm here.
So Nadine said it's complicated, and because I'm the coordinator of the service, I'm here. So that's actually a fairly simple answer and not complicated at all. But we'll go with that.
I'm here for tradition, and I love listening to the Kol Nidre being chanted. And I love actually listening to Harry play it.
So Harriet says she's here for the tradition. She's here because she loves to hear Kol Nidre chanted, and she loves to hear Harry play.
I'm here because Harry's playing. Make it a lot of years, and I can start it.
Mimi says, I'm here because Harry's here. Because Harry's playing, right? I guess for the folks at home who don't know this, Mimi and Harry come as a couple. So she's here because Harry's playing, and she says, I was one of those people who didn't come so much, which is, again, totally fine. No one owes me an apology for what you do with your time. It's humanistic Judaism. The Jewish guilt is cultural, not religious. Others. Elise, you're about to get a microphone.
I'm here because I'd like to be a part of this congregation, even if I don't necessarily am not the most active person here. And besides, how else can I do improv?
Now we really have the Phil Donahue thing going. Marina.
I probably don't. People at home.
The folks at home, yes.
Yeah. I'm here because I feel like if I didn't come, I wouldn't make my kids have as much of a Jewish identity as I'd like them to. So it makes me come to the services regularly because it's part of what we need to do. Did you want to answer too? Sky wants to answer.
All right.
I have come because, despite what my mom says, having a Jewish identity actually is very important to me. As a religion, it's not that big of a deal for me. I'm not very religious. But I really want to maintain the traditions because it's a part of who I am.
Well,
We're a chatty family.
to piggyback off Sky said, except to say it less eloquently, I like the community. Seeing all these people who I care about and who have, similar views to me. I grew up in this congregation, and the fact that I could go to these services and there are people who, remember when I was a little kid, who I've basically grown up with seeing as these are the people of my culture. These are the people who I can look up to whenever I'm thinking about, where I come from, I guess.
I promise they're not plants. They really aren't. Others.
I'm here because my partner's in the choir. I want to learn about that which shapes her. I'm not Jewish myself, but and I really appreciated the Rosh Hashanah service, and so I was like, I want to keep going to these things because there's something interesting happening that I'd like to explore.
Okay, Jake, your answer is not permitted to be, I'm a rabbinical student and I have to be here.
No, you don't understand the guilt, you see. Well, if I led part of the Rosh Hashanah service and did not come for any of the other two parts of the new year, I would look like a pretty piss-poor rabbinical student. I don't know what to tell you. So in an act of preemptive guilt aversion, I came. And I dragged my mother with me too, which is why she's here. 2 for 1.
Fair. Guilt is Jewish culture. So we'll say your answer was Jewish culture, not I'm a rabbinical student, and that would be bad if I didn't go.
I feel very closely connected to all of the high holidays because I've been going all of my life. But the big thing now is I have such conflicted feelings about how I feel about Israel and what we say about Israel and all of that, that it just feels more important to be here and maybe sort it out because it's all very messy and unclear to me.
You're coming back tomorrow, yes?
Yeah. Oh, will I get the answers tomorrow?
Well, look, I give no answers. I just ask questions. Others?
So two main reasons for me. One, personally, I've always found the holidays to be this like anchor in my year that really helps me ground myself and recenter myself and heal. And then the second is this is our second year in Machar, and I brought my sister in now this year, and so with my nieces and my kids, getting to build this to be our family's community is something I'm really excited about.
I'll choose to participate just because I think my reasons are a bit different than the others. Having a designated time to do the self-reflection with other people forces me to do it. And this type of service where it's plain English and something I can identify with, I try to take advantage of that opportunity. The community is great and everything, but if I was at home, I'd probably find other things to do.
Me too.
Hi, I'm new here, and if you'll humor me for a very brief story, I grew up in rural Kentucky to non-religious parents, so I felt like I didn't have a lot of culture, so to speak. And in college, I had a friend who took me to a very, very reform service with a female convert rabbi who talked about saying the hymnals for God or whatever you believe is up there uniting us, and it was the most like mind-blowingly beautiful experience. So I've been wanting to find community, and Machar is where I landed at. So it's really wonderful to be here and have significant holidays to remind you what's important and what to reflect on.
Sure. Yes, of course. I am here. This is my first year not going home to my family for the high holidays, and I was feeling kind of lost without that thing I've been doing for 22 years of my life. And I was looking for kind of a similar community and something that reminded me of home and how I was raised in my family, and I found that here, and I'm very grateful for that.
We're going to do one more, and then we have another speaker.
Hi, so one reason I'm here that I've been a member of Machar, and I love this congregation, and I love to be part of it, and everything that we do together is just wonderful. And the other reason I'm here that because of such an unrest in the world and in the country and everywhere, I became, chair of a safety and security committee, and I took care of security for this event. So I feel like everybody is safe today.
You'll notice the rabbi has a walkie-talkie, because this is the modern world. All right.
Ask a question, because the high holidays are the best for me. I think this is the best part of Judaism, that it encourages us to think about how we can be better and take accountability for everything. What I have never really understood is what's different about Kol Nidre versus Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and that sort of wedged in there. What's the different message tonight?
Okay. So, Mimi's question was, why is this night different from all other nights? Did you think I was going to just let that one go by? Of course not. Okay. What makes this different? A little bit, not so much, actually. If we were to go pull out an Orthodox Machzor, right, the Machzor is the prayer book you use on the high holidays. Were we to go pull out an Orthodox Machzor, you would find about the same kinds of things that you would find Yom Kippur Day. Confessionals, Lots and lots and lots of extra prayers, lots and lots and lots of medieval poems that were composed specifically for the high holidays and their acrostics, or very sophisticated acrostics, and covering all of these different themes that basically all kind of boil down to, we need some forgiveness here. So in that sense, there's not necessarily a whole lot that's different. We've got those in this book too. What is different is the Kol Nidre text itself and the framework around it. The Kol Nidre text itself, I know it's in Hebrew letters, right? The Hebrew letters are actually Aramaic letters. The Kol Nidre is in Aramaic. We stole the letters, put them to Hebrew. We didn't steal them, they were adapted, whatever. Kol Nidre is not in Hebrew. Technically, just, if you go read the Talmud, technically, you're not supposed to do Kol Nidre without 10 people because it's in Aramaic. And the Talmud is very clear. Please do not ask me to explain it because you don't have the time. You don't have the time. I'm happy to be here all night. The Talmud is very clear that if something is in Aramaic, you've got to say it with 10 people. Because the angels apparently don't know Aramaic. I'm not even kidding. It says it in 2 different parts of the Talmud. They say exactly the same thing. The angels don't know Aramaic. Kol Nidre is in Aramaic. Ergo, you can't say it without 10 people. You can't make this stuff up. The other thing that makes it different is we don't do exactly this because we're Machar. We don't do this. It really does start in a lot of congregations with 2 Torahs being taken out of the ark, being held on either side of the person leading the services, and invoking Yeshiva Shel Ma'ala v'Yeshiva Shel Hamata, the academy above and the academy below. Giving everyone permission to sit and pray with sinners. I was not kidding when I talked about that in my talk. That's really what it says. That's very different. Giving each other permission to have messed up is not a thing we do as people, right? Unless I'm standing here and saying, it's okay if you don't come to services. Really, it's okay if you don't come to services, but we don't give each other permission to be wrong. And Kol Nidre gives you permission to be wrong. In fact, it says, I'm going to be wrong all year. None of my promises mean anything. Wait, you're supposed to put that one behind your back, right? Now all of my promises are enforceable. Okay. That's really different. To actually be able to say, my commitments, not so much. That's wild. We don't really let each other do that. That's incredibly different. Give each other permission to be wrong? That's very different. And so that's really what's different about Kol Nidre versus anything else in Yom Kippur or Rosh Hashanah, because Rosh Hashanah has a lot of stuff that, I'm bad, right? That's in that book too. That's what's really different, is there's a night, one night a year, where we actually let ourselves be human. In Aramaic, when there's 10 of us. Look, you can read it by yourself, it's fine. I'm just saying, the angels will not understand you. And now somebody is concerned that the rabbi seems to think that angels, I don't think that angels are listening. I'm just saying those are the rules, I don't make them up. They've been around for 1,500 years. We don't really concern ourselves very much with those rules because it beggars belief that Angels can understand every language except Aramaic, which is a lot like Hebrew, so don't tell me they can't understand Aramaic. They're very close. We have more things to do. It's still Yom Kippur. So we're going to pick back up on the top of page 8. And you probably forgot what page we were on, but I did not. Remember I said we have confessionals too? Well, look at that. That's how you land, is you know where you're going. So we are on the top of page 8. Perhaps part of the blame falls on me, because I kept silent, uttered no cry. Fear froze my heart and confused my mind, and I did not resist the lie.
My clear voice was choked and dumb, and I allowed them, without protest, to outrage and violate what was dearest to me, holiest.
Cowardice came down and walked the earth. We hid our true feelings from one another. We did not hear the cry of a friend, and our own cry we had to smother. Black suspicion like the plague murdered faith and left hearts cold. Courage was branded treason. Betrayal was called heroic, bold.
The courts were ordered what verdicts to give. Trials were secret, the results never in doubt. Light hung its head in shame, waiting that at least one man should cry out.
No, but no one cried.
Before he formed the word, could articulate, his head was broken and his tongue torn out. Only one thing was left, the patience to wait.
To wait that justice might prevail one day. Perhaps that was part of my blame, that I kept silent, did not speak, as though I had nothing to say. We are on the top of page 19, and the choir will lead us in singing the Makom, which is number 12 in the hymnal section toward the back of your book.
I have seen violence scar the face of our planet. Yet I do not speak. I have heard cries of hungry children. Yet I do not speak. I have seen poverty and diseases. Yet I do not speak. I have witnessed the pain and suffering of others. Yet I do not speak. I have wanted to scream out in rage against injustice. Yet I do not speak. I too have been in pain. Yet I do not speak. I have wanted to laugh with joy. Yet I do not speak. I have wanted to share words of love. Yet I do not speak. Yet there were times of outrage, pain, and joy. When I did speak. May I always have the courage to speak what must be spoken.
May we always have the courage to speak what must be spoken.
Deep in the center of this holiday is the concept of commitment, individual and communal. If the year does not begin fresh with hope and clean of wrongdoing, then we suffer and the community suffers. But the choice is ours. It is not foreordained. The world of possibilities is born again each year. Perhaps all of us in all our relationships to ourselves, to our loved ones, to our society need to reevaluate our sense of commitment. We also need to reevaluate society's commitment to us. Perhaps this symbolizes the true meaning of Yom Kippur for us, to assume responsibility for all that we want and all that we are.
In whom can we place our belief? Ourselves. In whom can we set the soul aglow? Ourselves. Who has the power to assuage guilt and to end the reasons for guilt? We do. We ourselves. We of human heart and spirit.
To whom should we give our first applause? In whose inner being lies the power to exalt our humanness? Let us give ourselves the first applause. Let us reach into our inner selves and find that which we call righteousness.
For it is not found in the heavens or beyond the mountain. It is found here, inside our inner human depths. It waits forever for us to seek it out.
Can we give an accounting of our souls? Do we dare to ourselves? What will we find in the recesses of our mind, in the echoes of our past?
We have the power and the choice to narrow the abyss between the thought of good and the deed of good. Can we find the will? We can and we shall. For remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference, for each time that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible.
For each time that we have struck out in anger without justice or cause, for each time that our greed has blinded us to the needs of others.
We forgive each other and ourselves. We begin again in love.
For the selfishness that sets us apart and alone, for falling short of admonitions of the Spirit, for losing sight of our unity.
For those and for so many acts, both evident and subtle, that have fueled the illusion of separateness. We forgive each other and ourselves. We begin again in love. Thank you, Marty, for serving as our second reader tonight. Now I'd like to invite up Joanna Pratt, one of our choir's co-leaders and a longtime member of Machar. Joanna will speak on our theme for the holidays, Why Am I Here? Why Are We Here?
Thanks, Jeremy. As Jeremy said, I'm Joanna Pratt. My husband, Steve Samuels, and I joined Machar around 1990 when our oldest child started at Machar's Jewish Cultural School. So, why am I here? For two reasons. First, I like to sing with the Machar choir. And second, Nadine asked me if I'd give a talk on why am I here. So, that's why I'm here today. And thankfully, we've already discussed that just a few minutes ago, so I'm not going to talk about that too much. What I'd really like to talk about tonight is the bigger picture of why am I here. I'm not even going to talk about why we're here. I guess I don't care about us. I'm only talking about myself tonight. But hopefully it has some implications for others. We'll see. Anyway, so what does the question, why am I here, really mean? For me, it means what is my purpose in life, and what are my key beliefs, my morals and values, and how do I apply these to the way I lead my own life? And as I look back on my 70-plus years, I realize that discovering why I'm here has been a journey, which has really evolved over the many different stages of my life. My reasons for being here have developed from the different building blocks that are my life. So what do I mean by this? To start with, I'm here with the beliefs and purposes that I have today because I was lucky to have an exceptionally wonderful childhood. And this early stage of life enabled me to even have a purpose in life as I grew older. During high school and college, I wanted to discover my passion. Instead, I stumbled on an interest in the social sciences, especially anthropology. and I love learning about other cultures and appreciating their differences. My understanding that there is no one right way to live or one right set of beliefs is an underlying building block for much of my understanding of why I'm here. During college, I also became involved in environmental issues, including recycling, crushing cans a lot, water quality, and zero population growth. I only have 2 kids. I was beginning to see my purpose. I wanted to make the world and our environment a better place. That's a pretty tall order. So after college, I had to find a job. And for a young woman in the early 1970s with a BA in anthropology, there were very few paid jobs that weren't secretarial, especially work where I could try to make the world a better place for people or the environment. So I worked for a few years at a mutual fund company, wondering why I was there. I did manage to help the companies start recycling their IBM 360 computer paper. But I was much less successful, and I wasn't successful at all, actually, in getting them to divest their South African stocks, which this was during the years of apartheid, so no, it wasn't going to happen. I took classes after work and applied to graduate school in city and regional planning with a concentration in environmental planning. And at age 28, when I got my master's, my purpose in life, why I was here, was to be a professional who worked to improve people's lives through safer, more sustainable, and more environmentally sound urban living. That was me, and that was why I was here. There was no time for marriage or for kids. This was who I was. Well, not quite. Something happened. Soon after I started my very first professional job here in DC, I met Steve, who became my husband, my best friend, my partner for life, and we have 2 kids, Evan and Vanessa. So while in my professional world, I was conducting policy and regulatory analysis of toxic substances and other environmental contaminants, and I felt this was I was doing that, and I felt it was a worthy reason to be here. But now my purpose in life had expanded. I was also here to raise with Steve, our son and daughter, in a way that would teach them the value of love and family and friends, and to help guide their own search for who they are and what purposes they might have in their own lives. And as our parents aged, Steve and I understood that we were here to provide them with the same kind of love and help that they had given us when we were kids. So my next stage, retirement, brought many more reasons to be here. Steve's and my retirements coincided with Trump's first year in office. We added saving our democracy as a reason for being here. We encouraged our Chevy Chase DC neighbors to fly more than 300 rainbow flags when Mike Pence moved across the street from us for 2 months between the election and inauguration. I co-led a local political action group to fight Trump's policies and to help get Biden elected in 2020. And Steve and I worked on DC statehood together. I almost brought my little DC flag, but I decided not to. And we moved to Virginia part-time so we could care for our 2 young grandchildren 4 days a week. But I have had one more chapter in my life that has caused me to rethink why I'm here. In January 2023, Steve died suddenly. It was the result of fainting from a bad case of the flu. And in just 3 days, I lost my husband of almost 40 years and my best friend. Many years earlier, Steve had given a eulogy for a friend of ours, Norm Gleichman, who had also died in an accident. Norm and his wife, Marie Rizzo, and their 2 children were active Machar members. In his eulogy, Steve said that rather than moving on after the death of a loved one, we should learn to move forward. We cannot escape our grief, our guilt, our anger, but we can build on those emotions and on our memories of our loved ones to make ourselves better people. So now I understand that I am here not just for the reasons that evolved during my first 72 years. I'm also here to carry forward Steve's reasons for being here. And these are much more personal for me. I am here to reflect Steve's amazingly thoughtful, sensitive, and intuitive personality. And I'm trying to accomplish this by understanding and appreciating the differences that people have and helping others to appreciate these differences. And I've learned I can't successfully meet my own purposes in life if I don't do this, or at least try to do it. By being more sensitive to the needs of other people, and not just my family, my friends and coworkers, but all with whom I come in contact, people at the store, people on the metro, whatever. By reaching out to others who are grieving the loss of their loved ones. By being more proactive and keeping my old friends and making new ones. And by maintaining my sense of humor. And by relishing every moment that I'm alive and cherishing every moment that I share with our children, our grandkids, friends, and relatives one day at a time. Basically, I'm trying to bring joy and comfort to the lives of others, and maybe to myself. And so, why am I here? Well, now I mean, why am I here tonight speaking to you at this Kol Nidre service? Well, Steve loved public speaking. In fact, he claimed he became comfortable with it because of Machar, starting when he was the MC at both of our kids' group B mitzvah ceremonies. I, on the other hand, do not like to speak in public, but I'm trying to change that, and as I attempt to move forward with Steve's spirit in mind. So here I am speaking to you tonight. Thanks for listening.
We are not done speaking about grief. We are on the middle of page 12 at the section called Nizkor. I'd like to invite our final reader for tonight, David Dean, as we begin our Nizkor Memorial section. Zachor means remember. We are condemned to remember. It is the very nature of the human condition. Because we remember, we have culture. Because we remember, we have tradition. Because we remember, we are able to learn from our past. Even if we wanted to stop remembering, it would insist on intruding. We cannot be the creatures of our evolutionary past who live from moment to moment without the assault of conscious memory. Our past stays with us vividly. We must learn how to live with it. The Yizkor service is a customary part of many Jewish holidays, footnote, in the Ashkenazi world. The word itself is derived from the beginning lines of a prayer, Yizkor Elohim Nishmat, may God remember the soul of. As humanistic Jews, it makes more sense to refer to this important part of our tradition as Yizkor, let us remember.
It is not death I fear, but dying.
May strength and courage be mine.
It is not dying I fear, but pain.
May strength and courage be mine.
It is not leaving I fear, but being left behind.
May strength and courage be mine.
It is not separation I fear, but saying goodbye.
May strength and courage be mine.
Each of us remembers our traditions in our own way. It is through our actions today that we build our own legacy. Our traditions will be preserved and passed on to new generations. Their memories will be shaped by our present. We are children of the past. We are parents of the future. If we dwell too much on the past, we shall neglect the future. But we cannot only look forward, or we will forget the lessons that history provides. We are always the bridge between the past and the future. We stretch between the old and the new. We do not betray the future by ignoring our roots. We pay tribute to both. You have a thing that says song, we remember them. You'll have to wait on that song until tomorrow. However, the choir is going to perform for us a Louis Lewandowski piece, L'Adore Vador, which is number 25 in the hymnal section. You may or may not know of Rabbi Dr. Elliot Cosgrove. Rabbi Cosgrove is the senior rabbi at the Park Avenue Synagogue on Manhattan's Upper East Side, one of the country's largest and most well-to-do synagogues. You may not know Rabbi Cosgrove's name, but you may have seen part of one of his child's bar mitzvah ceremonies. His daughter was very into Hamilton, and so for her ceremony back in 2016, the synagogue's cantor set the traditional prayer Adon Olam to the tune of Hamilton's You'll Be Back. It's on YouTube. It was viral. It comes as no surprise then that Rabbi Cosgrove's writing is frequently featured in publications around the country, including the long-running Jewish news source, The Forward. Setting to the side that The Forward is barely a shadow of what it once was, not even really having a paper component anymore, it remains a major source of Jewish news and a major venue for Jewish debate. Last week, in advance of the October 7th anniversary, something we'll talk more about tomorrow, Rabbi Cosgrove published an article in The Forward titled, "Jewish Mourning Rituals Are Not Enough for October 7th Because Our Loss is Ongoing." We'll mark the anniversary of October 7th tomorrow morning for a second time, as it happens. That said, if you've ever been bereaved, I suspect you know, no combination of mourning rituals could really be enough for any major loss. The issue is not whether a ritual could possibly be enough, as much as it is how insufficient the ritual is. We each encounter grief and loss differently and feel it differently at different moments. And we know that in general, life gives us little option but to, quote, step forward into the future holding pain. Some losses feel larger than others in some moments and smaller in others. However you feel yourself now, about personal losses, historical losses, October 7th and its ongoing aftermath is the right way to feel now, as we take time tonight to mark and remember our losses as we mark the beginning of Yom Kippur. We light this candle in memory of those killed in the Holocaust. Though they are silent, our ancestors speak with our voices. Though their hands are still, they labor through us. They live in us, in our faces and our bodies, in the energy that moves our muscles and in our thoughts. They survive in our memories.
There are things in Jewish history too terrible to be believed, but not too terrible to have happened. Let us honor the martyrs of the Holocaust in Europe and of all the other Holocaust unleashed on the innocent of this world. In their memory, we reaffirm our commitment to freedom and peace.
We're on the top of page 14 at the heading, The Jewish Ghetto at Łódź. The Jewish Ghetto at Łódź was written by a longtime late Machar member, Harold Black. The language of the first verse can be difficult for those who have had certain traumatic life experiences related, among other things, to self-harm. Thus, as in recent years, I will leave the first block of the poem underneath the leader prompt for private reading. We will move to the second block of the poem, where David will pick up the reading for us.
If you choose to live, there is music to hide the rumbling of your empty stomach. Bronislawa plays her violin in the House of Culture. In Soup Kitchen number 2, Stajman the tenor sings. Or you can trade on the black market your last tablecloth or sheet for a loaf of bread.
But there are times when you do not choose. A notice is tacked to your door. Fate has chosen you to ride the train. We light the second candle for peace in the world. We remember lives lost in strife and yearn for a day when the words ring true, Lo yisa goy el goy cherev, lo yilmadu od milchama. Then nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. May Israel live in peace.
I am a member of the world family. I am related to those who stand next to me, by the air we breathe, by the light we share, the hope we have for a better world.
I have a responsibility to give, to receive, to be open, tolerant, and free.
I have inherited this world from those who lived here before. I occupy space and time for a few short years. I hold this world in trust for those who will follow.
My life, with others, can fashion this world toward peace other than strife, hope rather than despair, freedom rather than slavery.
I, with those about me, can make common humanity a living faith. I pledge my will and spirit to this thought. We will do this together.
The choir will lead us in Lo Yisagoy, which is number 30 in your hymnal section.
Go
We light the third candle to remember our more personal losses. We are all victims of loss. Some of us have wept, some of us now weep, some of us will weep tomorrow. Today we remember those who are no longer living. In tribute to them, we live wisely, courageously, and usefully.
Each of us is more than an individual. We are members of a living people. Our lives stretch back into the past and reach forward into the future. As we dream of tomorrow, we do not forget our yesterdays. We remember our loved ones who have died. So long as we live and remember, they too shall live.
Jewish mourning practice traditionally recognizes several different stages of mourning. The break points are 7 days, 30 days, 11 months, and 12 months. If you are able and willing to do so and have suffered a loss in the last 7 days, please rise. If you are able and willing to do so and have suffered a loss in the last 30 days, please rise. If you have suffered a loss in the last 11 months and you're able and willing to do so, please rise. If you have suffered a loss within the last year and you are able and willing to do so, please rise. And ask that everyone stand for a moment of silence as we remember those we carry in our hearts. Zecher tzadikim livracha. May the memory of good people be a blessing for us. May the memory of those we loved in life sweeten our thoughts and our deeds. May the grace of their presence reach out to touch our hearts and inspire our days. Please be seated. From generation to generation, Lador Vador, we are linked in time to the traditions of our people, both in community and innovation. We celebrate the cycle of nature, the chain of tradition, the lessons of our ancestors, the gift of hope, and the joy and preciousness of life. We're going to move past both of the songs on this page so we kind of know what's going on as we move forward. The days pass, a year goes by, but the melody remains. The days pass, a year goes by, but the love remains. The days pass, a year goes by, but the friendship remains.
The history of the Jewish people is long, filled with accounts of menace and isolation, emphasizing our need for connection and peoplehood. We cling to each other for affirmation and mutual support. Even in good times, we remember past dangers and find comfort in those who share our memories of survival.
But in this world, all people are equal in complicity. We are threatened by dangers: nuclear holocaust, hunger, disease, persecution, loneliness.
Even when the suffering of Jews becomes a memory, we must honor the lessons we have learned through our historical experience of suffering by caring for those who still suffer.
We believe in the future of the Jewish people. We believe in the future of humankind. Before we continue, I'd like to invite Will David up to give some announcements and some acknowledgments, and just generally so that people who don't know him get to know his face, because he is Machar's president.
So there's a few people to thank for this evening's service. Rabbi Jeremy Cradell, of course, our choir, Misha Clive, Greg Greiza, Joanna Pratt, Joyce Rosenthal, Michal Zelenin, Harry Appleman on piano, and solo instrumentalist. Our child care coordinator, Sharon Rosenberg. Greeters, Kathy Bergman, Amy Kotkin, Larry Lawrence. Our speaker, Joanna Pratt. Readers, Marty David, David Dean, Elise Rockler. Check-in, Emily Blake, Jackie Krotman, Barry Dancis, and Elaine Dancis. Security, Elaine Dancis, Emily Blake. And to our Machar administrator for coordinating so many things for the High Holiday services, Jackie Krotman. And a very special thank you to our High Holiday Services Coordinator, Nadine Wetstein. A few announcements. Tomorrow, a children's and family service will be at 9:30. The main service is at 10:30. During the main service, there will be a memorial portion of that service that will include a remembrance of innocent victims killed during the October 7 attacks and in the aftermath of the ongoing war. On October 20th, we will celebrate Sukkot at 10 a.m. at Cabin John Regional Park, which we'll be holding in conjunction with our partners at Beth Hai and Kahila Hadashah. Please register using the sign-up genius that has been sent out on the listserv and in the weekly update. Details on all of our services and events, including adult education speakers on Adult Ed Sundays, are in the weekly update sent via email by our congregational administrator. I always want to say congregational administrator, Jackie Krotman, every Thursday to everyone who's on the listserv. If you're not receiving these and would like to, please let Jackie know. You can just send her an email at administrator@machar.org. It's great to see you all, as well as new faces. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Good Yantif, Shabbat Shalom.
And as just an addendum to the Sukkot thing, it is an official JCS class day. I have to say that. I'm the school director. Please come. I guess if you're an adult, you can come too. You want to build a sukkah with graham crackers and chocolate and pretzels, right?
We see the Jewish people as our family, our Jewishness as our home.
We see humankind as our family, and the whole world as our home.
As we enter the new year, we carry with us wishes of peace, health, and the absence of suffering for all.
Lashana Tova Umatuka. A good and sweet year. And before we wrap up, choir will lead us in one more song, Shalom Aleichem, which is number 34 in your hymnal. And yes, I know it's a Shabbat song. Number 1, it's Shabbat. Number 2, we changed the words. We're on the very middle of page 18. There's one line to go. But we can't let it go unsaid. Together, may we go in peace until we meet again. Good Yontif and Shana Tova to those who are wrapping up tonight. Shabbat Shalom to everybody, because it is Shabbat too. And we will see those who are coming tomorrow. Shana Tova.
Continue.